Well, government, state and federal might want to wean themselves off coal mining, but in the past year, coal royalties paid to the Queensland government more than doubled, creating the biggest state budget surplus in Australian history. Brisbane Bureau Chief Adam Walters has been through today's budget. Adam, there are plenty of handouts as well. This almost sets the scene for the Palaszczuk government run into the next state election.
Ross, a month later, it would have been Christmas in July in Queensland, as if to emphasise the Queensland government's claims of responsible and successful economic management. The Treasurer Cameron Dick today announced a record surplus of $12.3 billion. This was Mr Dick doing his knight in shining armour routine while reading the budget speech in Parliament this afternoon.
Today, for all those Queenslanders facing cost of living pressures, I have a simple message. Help is on the way.
Yeah. So it really has got a situation where that surplus is pretty significant, but then also so too is some of the spending that's going to come into the future.
Well, that's right, and it's all been enabled, Ross, by an incredible 106% increase in royalty revenue from those coal mining companies. Now, it's shot up from $7.2 billion to $15.3 billion in the last 12 months, $3 billion more than that surplus. Now, that has enabled the Palaszczuk government to go, as you said, on a spending spree across all the major portfolios. And the budget has been squarely aimed at Queensland families and relieving their cost of living pressures. This is what the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, had to say.
Queenslanders are really feeling the cost of living pressures out there, whether it's buying weekly groceries, filling up the petrol tank, thinking about how they provide essentials to their children. And so we'll be providing the biggest cost of living relief of any state in the country.
So, Adam, I do note a couple of other things here in this budget. One is that there's massive amounts of debt. So, yes, the revenues have gone up, but in the future, the coal revenues start to fall off as the coal price is forecast to fall. The unemployment rate is forecast to start. And just having a look back in 2021-22, so only really sort of 8-9 months ago, the net debt in Queensland was $11 billion. It's forecast in 26-27 to be more than 4 times higher, at close to $47 billion.
It's staggering, Ross, and all this before Brisbane has to stage the 2032 Olympic Games. Now, the budget today spoke of the big build, but at the same time, Cameron Dick was forced to be honest about the fact that those coal mining royalties will decline sharply to coincide with a downturn in the industry. This was his admission.
We've got a big surplus this year, but we go back to deficit, and that's principally because of the big cost of living payment we're giving back to Queenslanders, which will go out in 23-24.
So, Adam, one of the big questions here is whether the handouts and whether the state of the budget right now is sufficient to maintain the credibility in the Palaszczuk government in the forthcoming state election.
Well, that's right. They're obviously making a grab to be re-elected for a 4th consecutive term. They are pinning all their hopes, I suspect, on these electricity rebates, $550 for every Queensland household, no questions asked. And of course, there's the added candy for families of free kindergarten care, and that money is going to be extended over a 4-year period. But it's obvious that this is the Palaszczuk government's serious bid to retain power.